Hi, welcome to Flash Fantasy. We're here to break down players and help you win your league in a flash. Today, we're going to be going over top 10 quarterbacks and our own individual super picks. We're going to start with myself with my number one quarterback. That's Lamar Jackson. I feel like his sophomore year went off extravagantly. He was awesome, rushing in, rushing all over, breaking ankles. I mean, he had one game under 19 points all year long. Not to mention, he killed it when it comes to rushing over defenses and putting in touchdowns. And that's what I want from a quarterback, a dual threat, somebody who could throw the ball and run it in there for me. What about you, Josh?
I'm going to agree with you with Lamar Jackson. I think it's very crucial to have consistent points at your quarterback position. And so the man put up 28 points a game. That was his average. So like you said, he's got his legs that are a threat. He's got plenty of talent that's out there. His tight end is great. They got more. They got another great receiver. So I look forward to seeing how he grows. I think he'll do better than what he did last year, this year. But he's my number one too.
Good stuff. So I'll be the one to disagree. My guy, Patrick Mahomes from Texas Tech, Super Bowl champ. That guy, he's my number one because, like you guys said, Lamar, he finished number one last year. And, Patrick Mahomes, he finished at number 6. That's fine. But going into, dynasty league or even a, one-year league, I feel more secure and putting him in my number one slot as opposed to Lamar. Yes, he averaged, Lamar Jackson averaged 28, points a game and whatnot, but I don't need that flashiness at my quarterback position. I want more of consistency and security when it comes to Pat. He threw for over 4,000 yards. That's a little bit more than Lamar did. And a lot of people like dual threat quarterbacks. Patty can get on the run too. So he's not afraid of that. But, if anything I consider when it comes to the two, I consider deep ball, precision and accuracy. Like Lamar, he was at 33% all of last year in the games that he played. Patty was at 48.5%. I'll take those chunk plays and make up for the lack of points that you may compare of the two. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Patrick Mahomes is an overall one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And so for our number ones, we have Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. Now into our number
Sir.
two. I think Patrick Mahomes fills this number two quarterback perfectly for me because if I was choosing in a draft, I would definitely go Lamar Jackson over Patrick Mahomes. That's just because I like the dual threat, but Patrick Mahomes is there. I mean, he was able to do 2 rushing touchdowns after his leg injury. And I think that shows that he came back ready to go. Andy Reid didn't rush him back and risk another injury, making it even worse. And this year, I have full confidence leaning on him with my whole team. And if you have him on your squad, you got a great quarterback to lead you to the chip.
I agree with my guy about Patrick Mahomes, Mr. Patrick Skinner McKinney. I think it's crazy because he got hurt, threw for 4,000 yards, and Josh Allen played a whole season and threw for only 3,000. So I just think it's wild to see a couple of games gone and Patty's still able to do those things. 26 touchdowns. He still put up more stats than someone who had a full year. So I think he's definitely a great quarterback. I see how there's a debate, and that's for good reason. But I would put Patrick Mahomes at number 2.
Right. And only reason why Lamar Jackson is in my number 2 is because Pat is at my 1. All of the stats, the numbers don't lie. We know what Lamar has done. I think he is going to get multiple Super Bowls by the time he reaches the end of his career. I think he's going to be one of those guys that continues to be a superstar. He's not going to be off and on throughout his career. So it's not too many more stats that we can throw out there to try to convince anybody. I know for me, coming from, putting Lamar at number 2, I know I'm not the only one out there that put Lamar Jackson at the number 2 behind Pat, but it's rare. So I'm not the people who are out there that puts number 1 Patty and number 2 Lamar. We're on the same page.
Well, I'm glad you guys are on the same page. Well, because for our ones and our twos, I guess we're not. For number 2, we have we have Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. So So far, Norris has taken the contrarian view, but I think this time I might be the contrarian and picking Kyler Murray to go third, finish third quarterback. He finished ninth overall, eighth quarterback overall. He had 93 rushing attempts and 4 touchdowns, and that's in his rookie year. I mean, those stats, they don't come easy, and I feel like he has even more weapons like D-Hop. Kenyon Drake has spent the year, and he's been getting the chemistry with him, and now he has that backfield all to himself. And I feel like this year, it's not that I feel like, the stats show it. Kyler Murray is a baller. And I think this is his sophomore year. We always see the sophomore blow ups, and he's about to blow up big.
Right. I think he's super solid, but I'll go with someone who's been in the league a little bit longer. Russell Wilson, walking 4,000 yards a year, walking 30 touchdowns. We know that he can use his legs when he needs to, and he's consistent. Like, he's not a dud performer. He may not boom like crazy the way we've been speaking about these past two guys in terms of Patty and Lamar, but I think it's very interesting to see, like, DK is definitely going to take a step. And if he's going to take a step, then you know that Russell's ready for that. If he's going to be open more, Russell's ready for that. If he wants more jump balls, Russell's ready for that. And I definitely think the increase of his talent is going to help Russell have another tremendous year. And so that's why I'll put him at the 3 spot.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with Josh. Russ finished number 3 last year. To his 516 attempts throwing, he threw 5 interceptions. He had 2 fumbles for losses, so he's not a guy that's you have to worry about him turning the ball over. He's consistent. You know, he's a proven NFL guy and fantasy player. And for you dual threat quarterback lovers, he has 75 attempts for 342 yards. You know what that is on average? That's 4.6. That's higher than a lot of running backs that start in this league. So that's impressive in itself. Again, he finished number 3 last year. He finished 3rd in passing touchdowns. Yeah, it's a solid quarterback, and I just think that, you know, the weapons that he has with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, you know, and he just got Greg Olsen. These are some good people to be in a, you know, offense with. They're reliable, they're consistent. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Russ.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson is solid. I have him a little bit lower, but we'll definitely talk about that. So for our number 3, I have Kyler Murray. You guys have Russell Wilson. I mean, these guys are top talent, and it's almost like there's no debate on who should and shouldn't be in the top 5 at least. And talking about top 5, let's talk about number 4. Deshaun Watson is my number 4. The Houston Texans, I think they lost D-Hop, but now they have to put their trust in their quarterback and see if he's going to make a break. And he's shown us that he'll make. I mean, there's a play last year that he did where he got like stabbed in the eye and still made the touchdown. I mean, if that's not tough, I don't know what is. And I mean, he's killing it. He got 4th. He plays 4th overall as quarterback 2 years in a row. Now that's with D-Hop, and I think with Brandon Cooks, he could do the same thing and just continue to produce as a great quarterback.
Yeah, so at my number 4, I have Kyler Murray. So I think Kyler Murray, just like what Jason was saying a pick ago, just being able to have D-Hop on his team, being able to learn from him and learn different things in regards to, hey, when I get to this point of the field, like, throw me the ball. It may look like the guy's on me, but there'll be some space. Give me 2 more steps while the ball's in the air, and we'll work that out. Or even for how he can work with other receivers on the field, or when to, like, do a check down pass, like just helping them understand the game better and help it slow down, helping them to understand, hey, I'm double teamed on this side. Don't even look my way. Like, make sure the ball goes to the other side of the field. I think that's definitely going to help Kyler, and also put him in a position where he can come from the 12 interceptions that he threw in the year. I definitely think that number will come down, and his yards, his touchdowns, I think those things will definitely see an increase.
That's good stuff. Those are solid picks. My number 4 slot, some people might look at me sideways and think I'm crazy, but I'm going for my guy, Drew Brees. Drew Brees is my number 4. You know, if we want to bring up last year, he finished in total fantasy points 27th. You know, that's not the greatest for him to be at my number 4. But here's the compelling thing. He only played 11 games. If we look at what he was on pace for, he had 27 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. with a 70% completion rating. If he played all 16 games, you can forget about it. He was finishing number one. Okay, maybe that's a stretch. He was finishing number two, behind Lamar more than likely. But the numbers, again, we're dealing with hypotheticals and projections. But if he played all 16 games, he had 27-4 in 11 games. I just gave you Russell Wilson. He had 31-5, and he played every game, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's my compelling argument. And I believe that he belongs in your top 5 in your quarterback positions.
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid pick overall. I'd say, like, after doing my projections and seeing different stats, I'm just going to put him in my top 5 or my top 10.
Oh, and, you got Michael Thomas, the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to produce regardless, right? But the thing that worries me about putting him in the top 10, he's now older. He's injury prone at this point. Like, he sat out a couple games each year so far, and just with them signing Jameis, with them having Taysom, it just doesn't, like, it's not somebody I want to put in my top 10 and think and think that he's going to do increasingly well, But he's still a great quarterback. I mean, probably right outside the top 10 on the year, if not better. So just for a quick recap, we have at number 4, I chose Deshaun Watson, Josh with Kyler Murray, and Norris with Drew Brees. And now time for our number 5s. So for number 5 for me, he finished super well last year, and now they've added more weapons to the draft, and that's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott last year had almost 5,000 yards, and with the inclusion of CeeDee Lamb, I mean, you can't do worse if you have better receivers, right? I mean, you shouldn't do at least.
Baker Mayfield.
It's the Cowboys. The Cowboys can never do right.
Baker Mayfield.
It is the Cowboys, but Dak Prescott is an elite talent. I mean, how many times have we seen him finish in the top 10, even though people continuously hate on him? I mean, in his career alone, he's finished 2nd, 10th, 11th, and 6th. I mean, he's debatable. He's the image of consistency when it comes to a fantasy quarterback. And he's also a dual threat. He rushes so many times. In the last 4 years, he's rushed 52, 75, 57, and 57 times, which is amazing to see as a quarterback. And he has great yards per carry, 5.3, 4.0, 6.36, 4.9. I mean, that's what you want to see. And so Dak Prescott overall, I think he's going to be in the top 10, and definitely I'm number 5.
Right. I think that's solid. I got Deshaun Watson at number 5. I think it is a slight hit. Like you mentioned, he's been top 4 like the past 2 years. But I think this year it'll be a little bit of a hit without D-Hop there. But I think he has that drive. Like he got poked in the eye, still finishes. So I think he just has that will to try to win. So I think he's going to definitely rush a little bit more. I think he's going to have to do more by himself. But I think he'll still finish within the top 10. I got him at 5. I think he'll still get around 3,500 yards throwing. I think he'll have probably like the second most rushing out of any QB. But I hope that he stays healthy, though. I think with him having to do everything on his own or more stuff on his own, that there's a risk there. But he's still a top 5 talent in my eyes.
Okay. So my number 5, it was interesting trying to think through it because, guys like Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, I did not mention in my top 5 yet. But my number 5 right now is Kyler Murray. He is, a young guy, and obviously he's a dual threat quarterback. He finished 9th in fantasy points last year, which is solid. I'm just, I love the fact that he has D-Hop out there right now. Like you mentioned earlier, he threw for nearly 4,000 yards with what he had. And a lot of those yards came from late game situations, and they were playing from behind and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting to see how, that transition, takes place with him having an elite receiver. Now, yes, Larry Fitzgerald, he's elite, but it's no military secret, he's old. So last year he did what he could with the weapons that he had. Christian Kirk is pretty solid, but now he has D-Hop. He's like 25, 26 years old, running like crazy. He can run all day long. He's catching everything. So he's going to be in a great position offensively to build on what he's had. And I do agree that interception number will go down. He'll probably finish with between 8 and 10 interceptions more than likely. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I guess my one concern is he threw 64% completion rating. He's going to obviously throw more. That was out of 542 attempts. I think he's going to end up finishing with more than that. But we'll find out. But that's my number 5.
Yeah, solid pick. Like we said earlier, I mean, Kyler Murray to be in our top 5 in his sophomore year, I think is a solid idea. I mean, and the kid's got a great future. I think with Cliff Kingsbury there, he's going to be throwing the ball even more, growing in that. He plays a very college ball, so he came from a good system in college in Oklahoma, and then coming into Arizona where a similar college feel, I think it's overall great to set him up for his future. So for number 5, we have I chose Dak Prescott, Josh with Deshaun Watson, and Norris with Kyler Murray. Now to number 6. This is where I landed on Russell Wilson. He never missed a game, and he has never missed a game in his career, which is insane to think about. I mean, he's played for how many years? 6, 7, and 16 games played, for years straight. So the fact that he's never missed a game, and the fact that he's only been out of the top 10 twice. So he started in 2012. So we're talking a 7-year career right now. That's insane to be there every single game and to be inside the top 10. So there's no way I couldn't at least include him in the top 10. And for the fact that he has DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson growing, and then they got Greg Olsen to secure the over the middle game, I think overall it's going to be a fantastic year for Russ. He's shown us nothing but just stability and amazingness, especially when it comes to him running outside the pocket and completing these incredible throws. Not to mention, like we've already said, he's a dual threat. So I think overall, great quarterback, and he falls to number 6 just because of the talent that's in front of him in this year.
Yeah, good stuff, bro. I think at number 6, I'm going to put Dak Prescott. I think Dak, he's definitely done well in the past 2 years. Like you said, he was number 2 last year. I think this year there is more talent there, but I think there's also more pressure. I think Cowboys fans and even anybody that watches football, just for them to be 8-8 makes no sense. They have way more talent. Now he's doing well, but it's got to transition. So, but I don't know how it's going to be with everybody begging for the ball. Zeke is going to be begging for carries. CD's like, yo, look, you picked me up in the first round, throw me the ball. Amari's like, you just paid me all this money. I'm supposed to be number 1. Michael Gallup, nobody really cares about him right now. But there's still a bunch of people to feed the ball to. So I think he's going to have a tough time in the beginning. There's just so many options. I hope that he stays in the top 10, but I could see him ending up just like our guy Baker Mayfield, where it's I have all this, I feel good, I'm confident, everything's going to be fine. We're about to run through the league and get humbled. But I think he has the talent to be a top 10 guy. But I'll put him at 6, and I hope that he stays there.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Dak Prescott, he almost made it to my number 6, but I don't trust Cowboys. I don't, I really feel like he might end up being another Tony Romo, who is a great performer in the, regular season and gets the numbers, but does not carry their team, to a chip. And maybe that's not his role. I don't know, but he is surrounded around talent, and I don't think that's a new or unfamiliar situation for him. So we'll see how he finishes. But my number 6, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun, great quarterback, thus far in his career. And debatably he could have been in my top 5. But Deshaun, looking at his numbers, it's very compelling. To see now, I am worried because the current wide receiver situation is filled with Buster Booms. And that's the part where I feel like I'm tiptoeing, at putting Deshaun in my number 6. But, he had 26 touchdowns with 12 interceptions. That's not beautiful, and that sometimes is where you have to look past the numbers. If you look at the game tape, you look at the film, we know that Deshaun Watson can play. He can ball, and he gets the job done. I think that division is interesting as well. So, yeah, Deshaun, quarterback, play alone like he is at my number 6. But there's a lot to be said when it comes to, trying to project where he's going to go, because that division is, toughening up a little bit outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But, yeah, that's my number 6.
Makes sense. For Deshaun to be my number 4, Josh's number 5, and your number 6, he's going to do great this year. And I think the weapons that you have around him, he's going to make the most of it. And so for my number 6, that was Russell Wilson. Josh had Dak Prescott, and Norris had Deshaun Watson. So on to number 7. I have Josh Allen at number 7. Last year he finished 6th ranking at quarterback, 7th overall in fantasy, and he threw for 3,000 yards, threw only 9 interceptions, which is 3 better than the year before. So you see his accuracy growing. And now he's got more weapons around him with Stephon Diggs. And the fact that he's a dual threat, he actually ran in more touchdowns than Lamar Jackson with 9 touchdowns on the year. He's a solid overall quarterback. And it's crazy to think about a couple years ago when these big teams were drafting and they waited for Lamar Jackson. But, they also waited on Josh Allen. And I just think he's coming to Buffalo. He's changed the environment. They got Devin Singletary, and they just drafted this rookie Zach Moss. So I think their running game's going to be set up just so he can start throwing the ball and going crazy with it.
All right. So I think this is going to be one that throws people off, but I have Matty Ice as my guy being at number 7. Matty Ice only because every other year, fantasy-wise, he goes off. Just go back and look at everything. Every other year, it's like he's here, top 10, top 5, then fell off. Then top 10, top 5, fell off. And so it's one of those years where I think he'll do well. And even looking at last year, he finished 11. So he was just a little bit out of the top 10. So if he's going to have a better year than what he did last year, then I definitely have him a couple more spots up. He threw for almost 5,000 yards. And 14 interceptions, but look at this. He ran dual threat. Let's go. 34 attempts for 147 yards and a touchdown. The older he gets, the more he runs. Let's ride, bro. I got him at number 7.
Okay. Man, that 14 is that's high. So my number 7, Dak Prescott. Finished. It's crazy when you look at the numbers. You got Lamar Jackson finishing number 1 in fantasy points, Christian McCaffrey at number 2. Number 3, out of all positions, Dak Prescott. That's impressive. That is very impressive. And that 337. I don't know off the top of my head how much he's projected this year, but I would have a safe bet. I would place a safe bet on that he's going to be, finishing top 5 fantasy number-wise. But from a pure quarterback perspective, again, I don't trust the Dallas Cowboys. And honestly, as long as Jerry Jones is in the picture, I don't see much happening as far as long-term success. But for the, statement that I made in the last, round, Dak, he's crazy talented. And I do believe that he is a Tony Romo-esque type of quarterback where he's going to be a great regular season performer, and the numbers are going to be there. Last year he threw up 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He, again, averaged 5.3 rushing yards per carry. This is great numbers, 99% quarterback rating, 65% completion. These are pretty good. So I just didn't feel – I know he deserved to be in my top 10. I just didn't, feel like he belonged in top 5. But that's my number 7.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. He just barely made the top 5 for me just because of his age and the fact that he also has a contract that he's trying to get. He's trying to get big money, and the last year showed that he's willing to throw and run and do whatever it takes to get that big money. Now Jerry's just got to pay him. There's even a possibility if you're doing starting a keeper or dynasty league, if you can get Dak Prescott, I mean, there might be a possibility he ends up going to a better team, and that's better. That if he can get out of the Cowboys and go somewhere, I don't know, let's say the Falcons. If Dak Prescott ends up with the Falcons, it'd be solid. But I think that's solid logic there, Norris. So for our number 7, I have Josh Allen. But Josh has Matt Ryan, and Norris has Dak Prescott. Um, so for number 8, our 8th quarterback, I have Aaron Rodgers. Now, the man has a cannon. The man has a cannon. He can't be underestimated. He's coming in with this rookie right behind him. I think he's gonna prove the fact that he's Aaron Rodgers, and he's gonna make them regret not getting him more skilled players, which I think overall is great for somebody like Devontae Adams. But when he's healthy, when Aaron Rodgers has played all 16 games, he always finishes within the top 10. Always. Last year he just barely made it with 9, but still, always finishes within the top 10. So I think he's a safe bet. And as long as he keeps, I mean, they did get Devin Funches, so I think he has those guys where he needs them, and he's just going to use them. They're going to get big bombs and take off.
Interesting. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is mad. I feel like Aaron Rodgers possibly could sit out. That's a joke, though. I think he'll play, but I don't have him in my top 10. So I have Drew Brees at my top 10. He was already like just thinking about his stats playing only a few games, and he was on track to being like historic. Like he's already a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we understand it. But the addition of who's that guy that came from San Fran?
Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders. So he's had Michael Thomas best in the league, and then he's done it with Ted Ginn, and then all these other guys that really like I can't remember them. But to have an actual number 2 wide receiver out there with him, I just think his stats are going to be even better. He just needs to stay healthy. And that's, of course, that's a huge thing for everybody. But I definitely have him in the top 10. And I believe if he threw for 27 without playing a whole year, he played 11 games through 27. I think if he plays a whole year, I could see him getting easily like north of 35 touchdowns. So he's going to rush for 1, even though last year he rushed for -4 yards and a touchdown.
Great stat dropping. I love it. Love the negative stats. All stats matter.
That's a Drew Brees stat if I ever heard one.
So number 8, the Philly up and coming.
Oh snap!
Legend. He's not a legend yet, but I think he will end up, becoming certified. But Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is in my top 10. He is at number 8. He finished 12th in fantasy points last year. He threw for over 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had 7 fumbles for losses, but, he's not a running back. It's not his job to, carry and protect the ball, But needless to say, he's at my number 8. He's an interesting, that offense is interesting because I know they don't have Nelson Aguilar anymore. They have Zach Ertz. Like that's the attractive piece, looking at that offense. And obviously Zach Ertz is an icon, in the tight end position, debatably number 1. So, obviously there's Travis Kelce and whatnot, but that's a different topic for a different day. But Zach Ertz being the number 1 guy out there, I think that Carson Wentz, he has the talent to obviously, go far and get into the Super Bowl and whatnot. The defense is going to play a key role to his success, for him in particular, because he isn't the guy that's going to – obviously he turns the ball over. Not crazy amounts, but he turns the ball over. 14 total turnovers is a lot, but I think he is worthy of being top 10. And I think he will finish in top 10 this 2020 season.
Yeah, solid pick. I think you're right. I think he will finish top 10. So for our number 8, I have Aaron Rodgers. Josh has Drew Brees. And Norris with Carson Wentz. I feel like it might be a reach, but we could talk about that. With number 9, I have Matty Ice, Matt Ryan himself. I think the Atlanta Falcons are always poised to have a great year. And I think there's a crazy stat about Matt Ryan that floats around is that every other year he finishes inside the top 10. So 2 years ago is what you want to look at. And 2 years ago, Matt Ryan finished second. And then 2 years before that, he finished second. 2 years before that, he finished second. I mean, it's incredible. So I think this is the year. It's 2020. It's time to make it happen. You got Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, potentially Todd Gurley. You got might as well be Mark Andrews, but Hayden Hurst, which when we release our top 10 tight ends, be looking out for Hayden Hurst, y'all. I mean, it's just overall, Atlanta Falcons are set up for having a great year, and they drafted well for it too. So number 9, Matt Ryan, easily for me.
Okay. For my number 9, I'm going to keep it in Florida. I'm going to go with Tom Brady, Mr. Tampa Bay. I think he just has so many weapons. I think he was sick of what was going on in New England, which doesn't make sense, like championship pedigree, but he has something to prove. He wants to prove that he's not a system quarterback. He's got Mike Evans. He's got Chris Godwin. He's got O.J. Howard. He's got his boy Gronk again. Like, he has everything for him. They drafted a nice running back piece that's similar to James White, but a little bit better at rushing, and Keyshawn Vaughn. I think he has every weapon that every quarterback wish they could have. Like, he has every reason to do well. So it's going to be up to him. And if he plays like the Brady we knew in New England, then I think he's going to light it up. And I think it'll be a walk into the top 10. He has everything around him for it to be that way. But, yeah, he threw for 24 touchdowns last year, and they were struggling. He was getting hit almost every play. But I think Tampa's going to protect him better. And I think we could see north of 4,000 yards again from him. I think definitely north of 30 touchdowns. And that's usually all it takes to be top 10.
Yeah, I'm 1,000% on the same page with Josh. He's at my number 9 position. I do believe that Tom Brady will finish top 10 with the Bucs this year. He has an ample amount of weapons. Like Josh just stated, I don't want to be repetitious, but to see Tom Brady go from, to be in the New England position and to finish 15th overall in fantasy points, that's impressive, and that's against all positions. So if he can do that in New England with the people that he did, to walk into a situation with Tampa Bay, yeah, it's going to be a great year for him. I don't even know if that's debatable with him not finishing, finishing in the top 10 of the 2020 season. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, again, I think he's great, but he's not in my top 10 either.
You don't think he's great then?
He's not that great. That's all it is. It's just not that great. We know he's the GOAT, right? There's no debate about it. Like, he's shown us. He can show us with all 6 fingers. I mean, it's great. But I think there's so much talent at quarterback, and especially those dual threat quarterbacks, because granted, Tom Brady's been trying to pick it up, but he still does not run a 4.2. Like
3 rushing touchdowns last year. That's a lot for TB. It's a lot.
You're right. That is a lot for TB, but that's not a lot compared to my next pick. That's Carson Wentz. I think number 10, I think Carson Wentz could be a solid quarterback this year with all the weapons, and he does have the rushing ability. He finished 12th or 10th overall, or 10th as a quarterback and 12th overall last year. I think he can be phenomenal this year. I mean, he had 607 pass attempts, only 7 interceptions. 7. I mean, that's great. And he's gone. His team has gone to the Super Bowl. Not necessarily him, but he has a ring. I mean, that counts for something, right? But but I think overall he's got Jalen Reagor. They're keeping with Miles Sanders, so that chemistry is growing. He has, and like Norris said, he has so many weapons around him. I see him doing it this year. But Carson Wentz for me at number 10.
So the 10th spot was very tough because, like you said, like that, I feel like that can shuffle so easily. It's only by a couple points that these things change. But I have Daniel Jones of the New York Giants at number 10.
Wow.
My reasoning for that is my reasoning is let me get one. Let me get this. So he definitely stormed onto this. I thought he was trash. I thought he shouldn't have been drafted as early as he got drafted. and he came in and he did his thing with pieces. I mean, people getting injured, like everybody was falling to injury, and he still was just finding ways to put up numbers, even running it for himself. And Jason, you love these dual threats, but I think he's very balanced. So he's finally going to have all of his receivers healthy. Finally going to have Shepard healthy. He's got Slayton there. He's got his tight end is back. Saquon is Saquon. Like, he has plenty of weapons too. He's set up, and he's actually talented. Like, I don't think his was a fluky season. He did it with nothing. Nobody made him look good. Like, he was just good. So I feel like there's still a lot of people that it can be debated there. Like, I'm not saying he's solidified top 10, but I definitely think if everybody's healthy, then he has every opportunity to be able to do it. And I think the New York Giants are definitely headed in a great direction. Okay.
So my number 10 slot, a friend of mine referred to him as the closest thing you're going to get to a white Lamar Jackson. And that's Josh Allen in my number 10. You know, he's an incredible talent. He finished 7th overall in fantasy points with 288. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. 9. And he had 20 passing touchdowns. That's incredible. With over 3,000 yards. Pretty average quarterback rating, but, you know, we're going to see. I think DJ Moore has I'm thinking of the wrong Allen. I think the addition of Stephon Diggs is going to be a great help for him. With Stephon Diggs alone, that's going to add 1,000 yards to his total, passing yards right there. So I think we'll be looking at somewhere around like 28 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns to finish out in the 2020 season. But he's that's another quarterback in a great position. That team is drafting to meet his needs. Even though I wouldn't consider him off the bat like a franchise quarterback, but I think we're starting to see the development of that picture. So, he's definitely going to finish top 10.
Definitely.
I do believe definitely he's going to finish in top 10. So that's my top 10.
I think if you definitely thought he would be, I think he'd be higher than 10. But it's still a solid pick overall. So with our 10th overall, I chose Carson Wentz. Josh stayed in the same division and went Daniel Jones, which surprised me, and Norris with Josh Allen. So now we're going to take some time and kind of look at our top 10s and dispute them a little bit. So, fellas, let's talk about it. So, Tom Brady. I know Josh and you and Norris, both of you had him at number 9.
Number 9.
I just don't have that. And I didn't hear Aaron Rodgers from y'all at all.
Right.
Y'all don't think you'll put Tom Brady this year over Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
If Aaron Rodgers had the talent Tom's going to have this year, then he'd make it. But he doesn't.
And we're dealing with, with Adam Rodgers, we'll see how healthy Devontae Adams can remain because he's the key ingredient to his success, obviously. Aaron Rodgers, I would like to look at him as a guy that could be in a Tom Brady type of situation where there's a bunch of no-names and he throws for 4,000 yards. But sometimes Aaron Rodgers, he gets a little bit, shaky. And he doesn't have a clean record of having a clean bill of health anyways. So with Aaron Rodgers' talent, he's obviously a Hall of Famer and whatnot, but I don't see him coming into 2020 comparing Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Not even close, in my opinion. Not even close. It's just way too much talent. Again, you got Adams and you have Aaron Jones. That are his 2 main pieces to push him forward. So, yeah.
I think
hear that.
Green Bay is going to slight this man, though. I think Green Bay is just doing him wrong. Like, why are you picking up Jordan Love in the first round?
Why?
Like, he's not old enough to start thinking about somebody else. And they've been doing Aaron Rodgers dirty. So I don't even know how motivated he is to play for Green Bay. Because I bet if he sat out this year, he still would get picked up. He wouldn't end up like Cam and stay on the shelf. He's definitely going somewhere. But I just think Green Bay, their relationship is terrible. So he's going to go out there and play. But I just don't – it's not the same kind of drive, with all those different issues. So I just don't see him doing top 10. Will top 20, top 15? I'll give him that. But I don't see top 10.
Interesting. I mean, I can see where you guys are coming from for sure. I mean, Tom Brady, like I said, he's the goat. He's going to Tampa. He's got weapons to throw to. I just think Aaron Rodgers, with Jordan Love coming, I mean, there's been comments about him, like, oh, like I'm ready to go, like I'm here to win. And so I think Aaron Rodgers wants to. I don't know if he's at the end of his career by any means, but I think he wants to finish his career with a bang. Maybe it's with Green Bay. Maybe we see a Brett Favre situation. I think
Right.
I think it'd be
That's
crazy
that.
for him to go somewhere like the Lions. If he showed up in the Lions, Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a
Right.
fun situation right there. But any other disputes that y'all wanna throw in the ring?
Not necessarily. I mean, we're all sensible men. I think we know, with the exception of somebody like me that throws Drew Brees in the top 5. I don't know, like, but I think I agree with most of the picks as far as their positions. Dak, again,
Yeah.
he's great talent, and I understand the logical side of putting him in a higher position than my number 7. But as long as he's in top 10, I agree.
Where yeah, and that's
I
something
guess one that
definitely
I
agree
don't
with.
agree with would be where you have Jason, where you have Russ. I think it's a little bit low. It's fairly
Really
low,
low. Well,
but
I mean, I
but it's
put him at
still like
6.
at least he's there.
Did
Yeah,
you have
I think
Right.
that's low.
I put him at 6 because of the talent that's in the league right now, and the contract years, the different like chips on the shoulder, the narratives of different quarterbacks. I mean,
True.
you got Lamar and Pat that they're gonna be 1 and 2. Then you got Kyler Murray, like who I mean, if we take what we've all said, 3, 4, 5, right? He's gonna be up there. And then for me, Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, I feel like they all play the game pretty similarly, but two of them have just a better like overall like chance with Deshaun and Dak because their teams rely on them. Where Russell Wilson has Pete Carroll giving the ball to Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, and you don't see like the Seattle is known for being the most rush heavy team. I mean, and they want that. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
opportunity that's taken away from Russell Wilson, but for these younger quarterbacks, it's given to them to prove themselves. That's why I went with them over him, just slightly. But yeah, that's how he fell to 6 for me. Because as I was chalking up my projections and doing the math, looking at stats, looking at injuries, I mean, yeah, and for me, I couldn't if I slid Deshaun Watson any lower than 5, I feel like that man's gonna come at me with the cleat to the eye. I mean, he's fierce, bro. Like I just after I was looking at those clips this weekend, I just that was fire.
So is that clip? That clip gave him number 5.
No, he's at number 4. That's what that clip gave him.
Wow. I personally think out of those 3, I can see why you put Dak above him. Dak has weapons, but I think Dak has the same thing. You mentioned like Seattle, they run the ball a lot. They have Zeke. Zeke runs the ball. Like, he touches the ball like maybe second to Derrick Henry, and that's it. And so, but I think the situation hasn't changed much for us. So I expect similar from him. The situation has elevated for Dak, and the situation got worse for Deshaun Watson. So that's why I would say like that's why I had it shuffled in that kind of way. But
Makes
but I
sense.
think it's still good. They're all like you said, like the 3 of them, they're in that range where it's like whatever you do, if they're like back to back, the 3 of them, then yeah, it's a smart list. And if it's
Makes
mixed up,
sense.
then it's like, okay, you're gonna have to explain yourself, my guy.
Right.
But I think
Exactly.
it was solid.
Well, and now to our sleeper picks. So I'm gonna start us off with Jared Goff. I think every year I've looked at Jared Goff and like,
Word.
all right, is this gonna be the year? This is gonna be the year. I'm telling y'all, this is gonna be the year. I think with the addition to Cam Akers, Brandon Cooks is gone, but they put Van Jefferson. They drafted him. I think he's a great third wide receiver in that slot position. And I think overall he can really be focused. He has Cooper Cup, Robert Woods, and then Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, and now Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. Like he can throw the ball everywhere, and somebody's got to catch it, you know. And I think overall He has great talent. He's on a great system. Sean McVay loves this guy, and he's building his whole team around him. So, sleeper pick for me, 2020, Jared Goff.
Yeah, I'm definitely sleeping on him. My sleeper pick, I definitely would say Big Ben. I think Big Ben coming back, like I just don't get it with these like Pittsburgh people, man. In the past, I remember being in a league where somebody had Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben, and literally they just together throwing up 30 points, just going crazy. And I think Big Ben is older. It's been a while since the three of them have played together, but I think Big Ben is still just like a gunslinger, man. Like I just personally believe, yeah, I'm sleeping on him too, but that's who I put at my sleeper pick.
Yeah,
Go out there, Big Ben.
he can stay over there. The man doesn't work out. He eats cheeseburgers all day. I don't want that on my list at all. But Matthew Stafford, I think he's still available in most leagues, like between 50 and 60% of leagues. That's a mystery to me. But again, this is why he's a sleeper pick because the guy, he threw. And now, again, he played 9 games. But in those 9 games, he threw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of those 9 games with 3 touchdowns. And another game where he threw 4 touchdowns. Like, he's a multiple touchdown guy. He's in a great situation. He has plenty of talent at wide receiver. We got another sleeper type of wide receiver in Marvin Jones Jr., who blows up every year but stays under the radar. You know, you got Kenny Galladay. You got, Swift in the backfield now. And Matthew Stafford gets the job done. He's a fourth quarter genius. He's a winner when it comes to that aspect. But yeah, I think a lot of people, too many people, are sleeping on Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I think that's
he's
solid.
really good at math.
I think that
He's really good at math, bro.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
No, that was real, bro. I trust it. I don't sleep on his math skills, but I sleep on him in fantasy football too.
I think you should stop sleeping on him because if he's healthy, bro, he has so many weapons around him. And here's a solid fact for y'all. Detroit Lions had the opportunity to go get somebody like Jordan Love, like Justin Herbert, they were up there. And they stuck with going for their defense, and they stuck with Matthew Stafford. Now, he has had some injuries in the past, but you put people like Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, T.J. Hawkinson, they're there to build around Matthew Stafford. And they're still, maybe Marvin Jones is probably the oldest one of them, and that's fine. He's still getting the job done. You could draft him in the 9th round in any redraft league, and he's still going to put up points for your team. So I think there's a solid sleeper. So I had Jared Goff. Josh, you had Big Ben, which you're right. I'm definitely sleeping on him, and I think he's sleeping on all of us. I think he's taking naps every day. And then Norris, you have Matthew Stafford. Another sleeper pick for you guys real quick. I'm going to rattle a couple off that weren't in my top 10 that you can still look at and if they're available. Daniel Jones fell for that. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, they're up there too. And Phillip Rivers, love Phillip Rivers. Sad to see him go, but happy to see him land in a spot like Indianapolis. I think he can be like Peyton Manning went from Indianapolis to the Broncos. So now we got to reverse it for Phillip Rivers. He's going from the AFC West to the AFC South. And, there's a possibility. People are ranking I haven't done my team projections yet of final position, but I could see them finishing 3rd in the AFC as Indianapolis Colts. They have T.Y., Harris Campbell. They got speedsters. They have tons of people around them that could really help them. So that's it for our top 10 as sleepers today.
Big Ben is finishing above Carson Wentz. Water bet.
Water bet. Let's do it.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell. You can follow us on Instagram at The Flash Fantasy and listen to our podcast on any of your podcast apps.